There's a ghost train in Statesville, North Carolina. So in 1891, a train heading to Asheville, North Carolina, jumped the tracks at the Boston Bridge and fell to the ground below. How this happened was a mystery, and there was even a reward put out for anybody who could solve the mystery. Was this just bad luck or something more sinister? Every year on the anniversary of the crash, the train is seen reliving its last minutes. To hear more about this, go to Mysteries, Myths, and Legends podcast.
Okay, so this is the famous abandoned train in Galveston. It's haunted. Of course, knowing me, I'm very curious. So according to Gabriel, the pictures that they've taken before, the captain of the train has been spotted right there in the pictures.
Is there anybody here with me on the death car?
Chilling face on the train. This is footage captured on a subway security camera, and it shows a man sat alone on a train. As the train moves through a tunnel, watch the bottom left of the screen as a face begins to appear. The footage was later analysed by staff and then loaded onto the internet. It has everyone baffled.
We have a cursed locomotive haunted by a guy who really lost his head. I'm your friend Real Ghost Hunter 1. Let's get into it. Some years ago, an engine on the Illinois Railroad blew up, cutting the fireman's head off with a segment of boiler iron. I'm not a locomotive professional, but I believe the fireman is the one who stoked the coals in the boiler. A short time later, the engine was then rebuilt, good as new, or so they thought. Once they got it running again, they could not find an engineer that would drive it and run it more than one trip. It was soon whispered about that it was haunted, and that a headless fireman kept showing up with a pitchfork and shovel ready to work, scaring the hell out of anyone on the train. One of its first runs after its rebuild, it was taken out. The engineer and his firemen completely left the train, deserted it halfway through the run. The conductor was then forced to bring it in on his own, which apparently isn't that easy to do. The conductor didn't believe in ghosts, though soon after he left, he found the next sidetrack and pulled off, and he waited till daylight to continue. That morning he told everyone that the ghost is no joke, and that every time he opened the furnace door, a headless apparition appeared in the cab, holding a shovel full of coal. Obviously he wanted to get the job done. After that incident, the locomotive sat still for a month. Finally, one engineer was compelled to take it out. But before he even hit the 12-mile mark on his journey, he hit a culvert and wrecked the train. That incident killed 9 people, and the train was never rebuilt again.
Come to the ghost train. March of 2017, a YouTube channel called Takashima would upload this video to YouTube. The video features the uploader following a set of train tracks wearing a GoPro, though it's soon discovered that the tracks lead into a narrow tunnel. But soon after the discovery, the uploader would still continue to follow the tracks. After a while, the distant sound of an engine can be heard getting closer, and after feeling the tracks for vibrations, it was clear there was an oncoming train.
Oh.
Fortunately, however, this specific train tunnel had safety areas for this exact situation, and luckily one of them was close by and was able to be utilized in time.
How can railroad tracks be haunted? Just south of San Antonio is one of Texas's most famous ghost stories. So this is an actual picture of what's referred to as the ghost tracks. In 1938, a school bus full of children got stalled out on those very tracks. Tragically, the bus was hit before the conductor could stop the train, and all of the children on board perished. Since then, it's been said that if you actually travel to the location of the incident, you will experience a very bizarre paranormal phenomenon. It's said that if you park over these train tracks and put your car in neutral, you'll actually begin to experience the sensation of movement, and your car will be pushed over and off of the tracks, supposedly by the souls of the long-lost children. Many have tried to debunk this as simply being some sort of illusion, claiming that the car is actually on a hill and you're simply rolling downward. Despite this, many still actually believe that what they experience is a legitimate paranormal phenomenon. And to prove it, what people have been doing is pouring baby powder on the backs of their cars, and the results are bizarre to say the least. Yet still, skeptics claim that these are merely fingerprints that were on the car before. What do you think? Are the ghost tracks of San Antonio, Texas a real thing? If you've actually been there, I definitely want to know in the comments. Let me know what you think.
Go check out a haunted Appalachian train tunnel with me? I think it'll be fun, but we might need an extra pair of britches before it's all said and done. Big Bull Tunnel in eastern Wise County, Virginia is claimed to be one of the most haunted tunnels in Appalachia, and for good reason. Cave-ins, accidents, a murder, and even the sounds of disembodied voices have taken place at this tunnel. This article was published in several newspapers in the area in 1905 and details the account of a train crew doing an inspection in the tunnel. One of the crewmen heard a voice of a man in anguish inside the tunnel and shouted out, "What do you want?" A voice shouted back from a brick wall inside the tunnel and said, "Remove the awful weight from my body. They are drinking my blood." At the beginning of the article, it talks about how people living near the tunnel had heard strange voices and sounds and believed it to be haunted. At 1,700 feet long, construction started on the tunnel in the late 1800s, but it wasn't finished until 1904. Many cave-ins and floods happened in the tunnel, and many believe the mountain didn't want it to be built. In 1897, a train hit a rock laying on the tracks and took out some support pillars for the tunnel, and it partially collapsed. In 1900, 2 trains collided in the tunnel, killing 2. In 1892, a night watchman guarding the tunnel right where we were standing was robbed and murdered, and the murderer was never found. On the other side of the tunnel, there's 6 partially unmarked graves of African American railroad workers who died building the tunnel. Sadly, their cause of death and stories have been lost to history. It's definitely an eerie place to visit, and I know it's just water dripping out of the tunnel, but I can swear you can hear pickaxes hitting the stone from the workers. The rail is still an active coal line, and it's extremely dangerous to go any further inside, but I hope y'all enjoyed this video.
It's tightened up. We're not left there. Don't know what it is.
I do, yeah.
Just lift it up, I'll go under. I ain't scared again, dirty. Oh shit. Oh, yeah. Feel it. Can't do that. No? Yeah.
We brought a Ouija board to the haunted train station. We've been feeling weird things here, but now we wanted to contact the spirits we've been feeling. We were very scared, but this had to happen. We've been feeling weird things at home and we had to contact the spirit. We sat down and began the process. We put our fingers on the board and began to ask it questions. First, we asked if there's a presence with us. We sat patiently and waited for a response. It was getting dark, and this is when the spirit comes out. The piece started to move to yes, which meant there was a spirit with us. My friend and I freaked out immediately. We didn't know what to do. We asked the spirit how old it was, and it slowly went to the number 9, and then went back into the number 9 again. The spirit was 99 years old. Like to see what happens next.
A resident from the area told me you are most likely to encounter a spirit at this haunted train station around Halloween time. I came here to test the theory myself. No one was here but me. It was getting dark very quickly, and I didn't want to be out here by myself. I walked around the train station by myself to see if I could feel anything. I definitely felt like someone was watching me. I decided to walk around and knock on doors to see if any other residents have felt anything. I looked around and noticed there's another entrance to the train station this way. Should I go? It is well known that this train station is very haunted. People who take this train at night have said that they've seen a white figure in the form of an elderly man walking across the tracks late at night. There's a rundown church across from the train station, and apparently sometimes the figure will walk onto the property and vanish. I tried getting into the church, but it was locked. If you walk down the tracks late at night, apparently you can hear a low voice saying the words, "Come here." Anyone who's encountered this ghost has said that it's not friendly. I had to explore more, like for part 2.
The terrifying story of the ghost of the San Antonio train tracks. It was a night in 1942, and a group of kids were coming back after a field trip. Very sadly, the school bus that were coming in broke down in the middle of some train tracks, and very unfortunately, it was hit by a train. The only person that was able to escape this and come out alive was the bus driver. Some time had passed, and the bus driver couldn't live a normal life. He wasn't able to forgive himself or even forget about what happened that night. So he went back to the same place and he parked in the middle of those tracks. This is the scary part. As he was parked there, his car started to move forward. He stepped out of the car. He noticed there were some small hands on the back of the car. He immediately knew the ghost of the little kids had pushed the car forward. If you ever go to the San Juan Mission in San Antonio, you leave your car in neutral there. Little kids will move your car forward. They don't want the same thing that happened to them to happen to you.
The Hoosick Tunnel, almost 5 miles long, was blasted through the Hoosick Mountains in Massachusetts, connecting Boston to Upper New York State. During its construction in the mid-1800s, so many people died that it was nicknamed the Bloody Pit. It is said to be profusely haunted. In total, almost 200 people died inside the tunnel, mostly from blasting accidents. In 1872, 2 men were working inside the tunnel when they were approached by a blue, headless ghost. Most of the workers claimed they heard voices calling to them from the darkness. In 1977, Joe Impoko was working to remove ice from the tracks when he heard a ghostly voice telling him to run. His body was then pushed by an unknown force, and he narrowly missed being hit by a train. According to people who worked inside the tunnel, every time someone was killed, there would be alleged sightings of spirits and shadows wandering the tunnel. They also said they would hear the sounds of agonizing moans echoing from the depths of the tunnel. They say that after the bodies of the dead were buried, the shadows no longer appeared, but the agonizing moans remained.
There was one.
Yo, what?
Okay, that's creepy. I'm gonna go back to this side of the train. You guys, is it?
You go! Oh.
Watch till the end, if you dare.
What,
Ghost trains have been the source of legends for years. Movies have been made and books have been written about these terrifying stories. The next video will only increase the mysteries surrounding these legends. TikToker Unknown Railfan normally uploads regular content about trains, but one of his videos stands out as a bit odd. While at a railway crossing, it seems like everything is normal. However, when the train passes, it seems like it is driving itself. This was a bit weird, but it gets even stranger when viewers pointed out something horrifying. But, did you see it? Apparently, there was a scary humanoid figure keeping an eye on the TikToker. What kind of human or creature was this? Be sure to follow us if you enjoyed this story.
is London's Death Train. This abandoned building used to be the London Necropolis Railway. London became severely overcrowded in the early 1800s, and the city's graveyards were at full capacity. The decaying corpses even began to seep from the soil into the drinking water. So a plan was devised to build the London Necropolis, which is the largest cemetery in the UK, about 30 miles away in the Surrey countryside. In order to get the dead from London to Surrey, they had to build this bizarre corpse train to transport them and their grieving families. The London Necropolis Railway was born. They also have the worst logo. Ugh. You can actually still see here where the train tracks used to be and how they would have converged with the rest of the trains from Waterloo Station. The station was partially destroyed by a German bomb in World War II, and it never reopened. The building is now being converted into flats, and I cannot imagine sleeping in this completely haunted death station.